Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be reviewing the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. All four of them. Yes, there are four Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. Now, just before we get started, I need to mention that this is in the eyes of someone who's not watched anything else Alvin and the Chipmunks related, and this was the first piece of media I watched Alvin and the Chipmunks related. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh yeah, and one more thing. This movie is about three chipmunks who meet a struggling actress, the songwriter, Dave Seville, and they end up just get on from there. Anyway, so the movie starts with the chipmunks singing a song called Bad Day, which is ironic because of what happens to them. The tree ends up getting chopped down. Yes, I said that correct. The tree gets chopped down, and then they get taken to a different facility, put into a truck, and then they're taken. And then we get to see Dave for the first time, who's interacting with his, I think, supposed to be love interest, but I'm not too sure, Claire, who's apparently like his ex or something, yeah. After Dave had his talk with Claire, he went to this record place that signs record labels, met with a guy named Ian Hark, and then he gets turned down. But it's so coincidentally that the Chipmunks tree was put there as a Christmas tree, because this film's set around Christmas, in case you didn't know. So yeah, basically the Christmas tree, they've got a Christmas tree, they've got bubbles, and Dave ends up stealing some muffins, and the chipmunks end up jumping on the muffins to take. So he ends up taking them back to his house, but he throws the muffins straight in the trash can. Literally, just straight up gone. Anyway, after they left the trash can, they end up trashing Dave's house, leaving them in a little fight with Dave, ending with Alvin knocking Dave out, making him unconscious, and then plotting to actually get rid of his body, which is very dark for a kids' movie. Then when Dave wakes up, the chipmunks introduce himself as Simon, Alvin, and Theodore, and then Dave kicks him out because he doesn't care, until they start singing, where he lets them back in and stays there as long as he writes the music and they sing his songs for him. So the next morning, the chipmunks woke up early, cooking something and making a mess, but they were cooking something, setting the fire alarm off. I think they were cooking toast waffles because they love toast waffles and cheese balls, but they were cooking toast waffles. Anyway, so it turns out Simon is partially blind, or, well, probably really blind, but he just never knew. So Dave goes ahead and grabs glasses, this is a super part, off a Santa statue and puts them on Simon's face, and it helps his vision. I don't know how it helps his vision, it just does. Then they go to sing a song though, and that Dave wrote overnight. So he wrote a song overnight from them sleeping, which is weird. And he sings. They have to sing the song, and it's a Chipmunk original, called "Christmas Don't Be Late." And then this is the next stupid part. Believe it or not, there's two stupid parts right back to back. Dave takes the Chipmunks to Ian, and the Chipmunks don't sing. They get shy. And you'll find out why it's stupid later, because they're not shy at any other point when singing in front of people. It's just this one flipping scene, and it irritates me. Then Dave goes to his actual job, which is like an office job, and he gets fired because of the chipmunks messing with the presentation board because they had like a meeting. Then he goes back home, and Theodore is so, I think, scared of Dave, he literally poos on his couch. I'm not even joking. And to make it even worse, Simon eats it. He spits it out after when Dave leaves, but he eats it to cover up for him. Let's skip ahead a bit because a lot of it's a bit boring from now on and not really important. So we're going to skip ahead a bit, like I think like 5-10 minutes, to them, the chipmunks going to Ian, to then actually singing for him this time to get Dave hired, and they get hired as a record label, and the song ends up playing in a shop, and Dave hears it. Then there's like a montage of them with the music. It is now Christmas Day, and Dave gives the chipmunks like some really rubbish present, like a saving bonds that they can get some in 7 years or something, I don't know. And then but Ian comes and brings them a bunch of cool presents, so cool Ian, and apparently they're now calling him Uncle Ian, which is something new. So it now must be a few days past Christmas because the Chipmunks are doing a concert. And during the concert, there's a bunch of food, and while they're eating, Ian comes up to them and says Dave calls them the rats, which is not true. And also, something I should know is he also kisses Alvin twice. Not even lying, he kisses Alvin twice. So the next part that happens is Dave and the chipmunks have a little bit of an argument, and it ends with him telling them that if he doesn't think he's looking out for them, they should go live with Uncle Ian. So they end up finding a note that he wrote earlier in the film, which I didn't mention, but he wrote a note earlier in the film before they were rock stars about living in the forest. And they find that note now, and they think he's just written the note, but he hasn't. So they end up going to live with Uncle Ian, they go to live with Uncle Ian. So next, if we skip ahead a bit, Uncle Ian's trying to get them to sing, but they won't be awake for long enough because they're too tired. So Uncle Ian actually brings in and gives them coffee, making them all hyper, and then they end up having a sugar crash, which didn't have anything. And Ian is trying to keep Dave away from the chipmunk because, surprise, surprise, he's the bad guy of the whole film. Who would have seen it coming? I definitely didn't. But yeah, so he tries to keep Dave away, but Dave ends up going to a concert and getting them back. Once Dave shows up to the concert, the chipmunks actually ruin it by breaking out because they were singing over the mic because their voices were dry. So they end up breaking it, ruining the concert completely. Then Ian ends up trapping them in a cat carrier, leading to a chase with Dave chasing him. But the chipmunks had escaped the carrier and showed up behind Dave. Alvin ends up driving the car. Simon works the windshield wipers and Alvin turns the steering wheel. Simon uses windshield wipers and Theodore beeps the horn. And then we're at the end. Oh no, then we see Ian talking to some rats, thinking they sing, but they don't sing. The end. And overall, I think this film's really good. It adds some funny scenes. I won't lie about that. And it's a really good film. And I do think this film, Alvin and the Chipmunk, is a good way to start off this quadrilogy, I think it's called, where there's 4 films together. It's a really good start, in my opinion. And I think it's really good. Anyway, let's get on to the squeakquel. Next, we are on to the squeakquel. So, I really liked this movie. It felt like such a fun time. Anyway, let's get into it. So, it starts off with them performing in I think it's Paris, because I haven't mentioned Paris. So, I think they're in Paris performing. I spell that French. Is Paris French? Come on, I love Paris is French. I'm joking, don't do that. But and then so Alvin's stealing all the attention. Dave tells him to stop. Dave gets hit by a sign, flies. He dies. Yeah. Okay, he's not dead, but he could have died. And if that really happened, he probably would have died. Then he's in the hospital. He makes arrangements for the chipmunks to go to school and go back home and go to school. Then, once they get off the plane, when they're back, we have Alvin, Simon, and Theodore meet up with Aunt Jackie. I think it's Dave's Aunt Jackie, but yeah, they call her Aunt Jackie. And Toby, her grandson. And then Aunt Jackie is in a wheelchair, and she ends up falling downstairs, going to the hospital. And so Toby is like the new Dave for this movie, because Dave's been kicked out of it. I think it's because he was filmed for someone else or something, I don't know. Next, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore go to school and get bullied by the school bullies. Well, the Chipettes introduce themselves to Ian, named Brittany, which is the Alvin's love interest, Jeanette, Simon's love interest, or copy, as some people see them more as sister figures, and Eleanor, Theodore's love interest, or copy, whatever you say. They introduce themselves to Ian, they sing a song to him, but before we get further ahead, Ian actually has gone, essentially I think it's homeless. He's digging through dumpsters to get food, and he's gone essentially homeless because of what the chipmunks did, basically leaving him to be homeless. And yeah, so they end up singing a song for him on a penthouse roof after Brittany gets all goated about the Hollywood sign. So after that, Alvin joins the bullies who bullied him earlier in the film, and joins the American football team for anyone out of the US. So it's American football team. While Ian finds out the chipmunks are going to be singing in a competition for the school called, and the school's called West Disman High, by the way, but it's going to be doing a singing competition, and decides to send the Chipettes to the school to compete against the chipmunks. Yeah. And so the next thing is, now the Chipettes are in school, Alvin, Simon and Theodore meet the Chipettes, Brittany, Jeanette, Eleanor, by their lockers, and they fall in love at first sight in honestly a very funny scene. It plays I Want to Know What Love Is over it, not a song by the Chipmunks are, but it's honestly a really good scene, I'm not gonna lie. It's funny as well. Then literally like a minute or two later into the film, we see the Chipettes show themselves as they came with Ian, not Dave. And they perform to the song Hot and Cold. It's really good. They win over everyone in West Eastman. So then they end up, now they're going to hold a competition between the Chipmunks and the Chipettes, which is who will sing in the competition for the school. So next, Alvin tries to talk to Brittany about warning her about Ian, but Brittany doesn't listen to him. So yeah, and then on the net, and she falls on the floor, and everyone laughs. It's kind of sad to be fair. And then the next scene, we see the Chipettes practicing for the sing-off against the Chipmunks, and Ian starts to spotlight Brittany more than Jeanette and Eleanor, therefore singling her out, making her more of a star. And complains about Eleanor's height, calling her short. So next, Simon gets tricked by the bullies into doing a job called the litter monitor, but it's not a real job, and Alvin figures out about that because the bullies literally tell him, and it leads to Simon and Alvin having a fight. Next, we had the performance, and the Chipettes perform and do single ladies, but Alvin doesn't show up because he's at a football game. He just win it, but Simon and Theodore do a speech saying they can't sing, just the two of them, meaning the Chipettes win the competition. So after Alvin goes to the competition and turns out everyone's left, he has a conversation with Brittany about being sad. Brittany says he only cares about himself, which kind of true, that's in a way. And then we have Alvin goes home. Simon and Theodore pretend to be asleep, and in the morning Theodore runs away to a zoo. Alvin, Simon and Toby will go after him because he leaves a note saying he's run away, not to look for him, and that he's gone. Don't look for the zoo because he's not up there, and Ranter's all costed. And he was going to go with the meerkat, but he went to an eagle, and faced an eagle. Alvin and Simon saved him. And then they had a really funny scene, which was like Simon had to forgive Alvin or he was going to kiss him. It was really weird. The next thing that happened is Ian actually shows his true colours when Brittany refuses to sing alone without her sisters for opening up Britney Spears, believe it or not. So yeah. So after that, Alvin then gets a call from Brittany on Ian's phone. And she basically fills him in saying they've been locked in a cage and she should have listened. So then he finds a motorbike to go after them to have a final chase scene almost, which cuts between two things. But before that happens, Simon tells Jeanette how to unlock the cage through the phone. Then when Ian comes over, throws the phone in the bag, and then they have the chase scene, which after they leave, Ian chases after them, but it keeps cutting between two things, like a random woman singing, and then the Chipmunks, which is really annoying. But yeah, and then we're back at the competition where they sing "We Are Family" as a group, the Chipmunks and the Chipettes. And then the final scene after that shows the Chipettes living with Dave and the Chipmunks, and they do like a bedtime scene. Alan doesn't want to go to bed. It's a good scene to be fair, I like it. Alan doesn't want to go to bed. They mess around with the lights, and then David's falling over and yells, "Alvin!" So overall, I really like this movie. It's definitely an improvement to the first one. It had some funny moments. The only nitpick I have with it is it felt so all over the place. Like Theodore being scared, the Chipettes showing up halfway through the film, pretty much. No, me and the chipmunks halfway through the film, I meant. But overall, it was a good film. It had some good songs, definitely some very good songs, like Hot and Cold, Single Ladies. So a few good ones. We Are Family is another good one. So overall, I really liked this film, and I definitely think it's better than the first one. And I also didn't really like that Dave wasn't in that much. But I get why he was busy with other stuff. It's fair enough, but just it is a little annoying. So we are on to Alvin and the Chipmunks. Shipwrecked is the next one. So the film starts with a song, as the two in the previous. This song called Vacation, and they're going to board a ship because they're on vacation. And once just before they get on the ship, Alvin comes down to the thing. Then they're on the ship, and oh my god, there's another song. there's another song, and this one's Trouble. The two good songs actually, and I've rapped in the song. That's what important you mentioned. And then we are now back in the room after all that's happened, and oh my god, there is a third song sung by the Chipettes called "Whip My Tail." And we are only 5 minutes into the movie. So after all the songs, Dave goes to dinner with the captain of the ship. Well, the chipmunks and Chipettes go off misbehaving. The Chipettes get into a dance battle while Alvin goes to gamble and Sam goes to find him. Then, while Dave at dinner, he ends up finding out that Ian is on the ship as the ship's mascot in a pelican suit. Then Dave goes back to the room, finds out the chipmunks and Chipettes are all gone, and he goes out to find them. After Alvin is causing a bit more mischief, using a kite, he gets them all flown off the island, the chipmunks and Chipettes, I mean. And Dave tries to go after them, save them, and thanks to Ian, they both end up in the middle of the sea. And then they both end up washed up on an island, the same island, surprisingly, just different parts, so they don't know they're on the same island. Next, when the chipmunks are on the island, they make a fire. Simon makes the fire, burns his foot in the process. He uses glass on the sun. He burns his foot in the process, so ouch. And then a bit later, it's now night time. They've still got the fire. They're all laying down to go to sleep because they have to sleep outside. Then Theodore, after they all say goodnight, Theodore blows out the fire and he's like, "Baby, I was turned out the lights," after saying goodnight. So then now they're all going through death, and in the morning, supposedly stay up all night, they're singing another song called Survivor. Another one, yep. So next in the morning, Simon comes with a suggestion to go get some real food in the beach because they were eating bark. Ugh. So then once they go in it, they find a mango. Alvin steals it. They end up fighting for it, and then they end up firing it at a girl who's on the island that they get scared of. Who's on the island, so they waste it. But yeah, there's a girl on the island called Zoe, and she's been on the island for 10 years. Yep, and she talks to bulls. So next, they follow Zoe to her house, which she lives in a tree, which is a bit weird. Eleanor falls off the tree and sprains her ankle. Ouch. And then Simon gets bitten by a spider. Ouch. While Dave and Ian are looking for them. And in the night, Simon turns into Simone, which is literally just Simon, with an E. Couldn't have thought more of a creative name. He's like some French chipmunk. It's really weird. So in the morning, when Theodore wakes up and goes after Simon, he says it's Simone, which is how we get his name. Then when Alan finds Simon and Theodore, Simone and Theodore, they're bungee jumping, and Theodore tells Alan to monk up, which is really annoying, which I think is like get braver. And then when we get back to Chipper to get like all new bikini things, it's kind of weird to be fair, but they look nice, I'm not gonna lie. Then we see then Simone gets there and he kisses each of their hands, and then there's probably my favourite scene in this whole film, and one of my favourite scenes throughout the whole thing, the dancing in the rain scene to another song called Say Hey. So next, after dancing in the rain, it's, I'm assuming later the day, it's stopped raining now, and Alvin is being responsible and going to build a shelter. Along with Brittany's also going to build a shelter. They have a whole conversation about it and everything, but it's kind of cool. Simone, Jeanette, Theodore and Eleanor along with Zoe, all go on for a walk. Jeanette almost dies. Yep, I'm not even joking. She almost dies. She only almost does. Then they're at the waterfall and they see a double rainbow. Yep, there you go. Later at the waterfall, Simon dives into the water and he ends up going behind a big waterfall, finding a bracelet, taking it to Jeanette, putting it on her head, and giving her a compliment in the meantime. Then the next scene, Zoe turns out to be evil. She'd been searching for treasure, and the bracelet was part of the treasure. Zoe's evil. Oh my god, I never saw that come. Next, Simone and Theodore set out to go find Dave and Ian, but they just know it as Dave. So they start searching around. They find footprints from Ian walking around with his big feet. Simone calls it a big flightless bird. But then they're looking, and then Theodore says, "Jungle monster." Then Alvin and the Chipettes figure out the island has an active volcano on it, being heated by an underground magma chamber. While Simone and Theodore find Dave and Ian. And Ian calls Theodore the chubby one. And Theodore shows pure anger, hatred on his face. Then Theodore takes Dave and Ian to the others, and Dave lets Alvin actually lead the plan after their little reunion. And then during the plan, Simone and Jeanette go. Simone gets hit in the head, which turns back to normal. But Jeanette actually gets taken by a Zoe, and she gets lowered into a cave later, and to try and get treasure. It's kind of mean to be fair. But before that, they find Simone knocked out, who's actually Simon now. And they explain, and they figure out that Zoe took Jeanette, and Eleanor leads the way to the waterfall because Theodore doesn't remember the way it is, and Simon can't remember anything. Then they get to the bridge, and they all leave, besides Dave, who goes after, and Alvin, who goes with him to the answer. He has to disobey him, which is kind of just sweet to be fair. I like it. And then they both go after Jeanette. Next, we have Dave and Alvin meet Zoe in the cave to save Jeanette. The cave starts crumbling, making Zoe drop Jeanette, and she escapes. They run out, but then Jeanette's rope gets grabbed. Simon faces fear, saving Jeanette, like grabbing her and trying to pull her back. No, Zoe lost a tug of war to 3 chipmunks. Because then, a bit after that, Alvin gets in the pocket knife back from Dave and cuts the rope, causing the chipmunks to escape. But Dave almost falls, and Zoe's about to kill him, make him fall to his death. Ian actually saves him, and then they all leave to the raft, which they built a bit earlier, and sail off, listening to, they sing Vacation again, a different part this time, and then a helicopter rescues them, and they go to the International Music Awards, like they said at the start. So then when they get to the International Music Awards, they sing 3 songs, but it's all one. And even the album version is just all songs on, which is unique actually, because it's the only one throughout the whole franchise to actually do that. So it's unique, but I don't really like it, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I think this movie was really good. I really liked that actually, but a lot of people say it's awesome, but in my opinion, it's one of the best. The only thing I didn't like is there was so many songs. Like the first 5 minutes, like I said, there were 3 songs in just the first 5 minutes, and there was a lot of songs spread throughout it. Too many songs. That's one thing I say. But anyway, we're on to the road trip. So we're on to the final one: Alvin and the Chipmunks, the road trip. So the film starts with surprisingly not a song. Wow. We have Theodore, Simon, and Alvin film a birthday message for Dave, saying they're throwing a party for Dave's birthday, and the Chipettes leaving because 5 minutes into this film, the Chipettes get lost and go over to judge American Idol. So that happens, and then Dave finds out about the party. He gets mad. Then the next day, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore meet Dave's new girlfriend, Samantha, and her son, Miles, who the Chipmunks hate. Dave takes Samantha to Miami because he has to go there, and the chipmunks thinks Dave is going to propose to Samantha in Miami, so the chipmunks and Miles go to Miami to stop him. So next, Miles buys a plane ticket because he can only afford one, but he sneaks the chipmunks through airport security. He struggles a bit, but then when they get through airport security and they are on the plane, Theodore goes in baggage and he ends up letting all the animals out, making the plane emergency land. And there's an air marshal who was on the flight, and he is mad at the chipmunks because his girlfriend broke up with him while listening to the chipmunks theme song, so he hates them, and he basically ends up chasing them around for most of the film. So next, after Agent Suggs has tracked them down for a bit, they end up in New Orleans, and the chipmunks end up singing a song called Uptown Funk. And then Dave sees it on the TV, and Dave then gets really annoyed. He ends up calling the chipmunks, texts them loads, and then the next day they end up meeting with the chipmunks and Miles in an airport, and he gets really annoyed, and then he figures out they're on the no-fly list, so they end up having a road trip, and they end up having to go all the way to New Orleans by car. Miami by car. So next, the chipmunks and Miles are left at a hotel while Dave and Samantha goes for dinner. Ooh, nice. But then Miles leaves because Alvin steals the ring and they celebrate, and then Miles gets annoyed, so he leaves. Theodore ends up, they're doing the slingshot thing. Theodore hits Miles out the way, gets hit back out and dies. And 5 seconds later he wakes up. And then once he's awake, then they go back to get the ring. Then they end up meeting Suggs, which they just run around a bunch and then they escape him. Then at the restaurant, Alvin gets to also that's the final fight. They just run around the hotel and then leave him locked in an elevator. But then they go to the restaurant and give the ring back to Dave. But it turns out the ring wasn't to propose to Samantha. It was to give to his sound engineer, who was proposing to his girlfriend. But then it all goes wrong. Dave gets mad at the chipmunks, and then the chipmunks decide they need to sing him a song. Then Alvin goes to American Idol to go and get Brittany, Jeanette, Ellen, all the Chipettes, to help them sing their song for Dave, which is one of the best ones, which is Home, one of the best ones in my opinion, and it's an original. Then after that, we're going back to LA, and Dave actually officially adopts chipmunks, which is a very cute way to end, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, that is The Road Trip. It's a really good film. I don't say it's my favourite, definitely not. It is a good one, but it gets boring at points, and I feel like they could have cut Alvin into the film and it wouldn't have changed anything. But one thing I will say is I am really sorry this one is so short. This is part of the review, because I reviewed 3 of Alvin and the Chipmunks films. I'm literally can't do this. This has been 6 hours of Alvin and the Chipmunks. Rewatches. I've already watched it before. This is a rewatch for this. I'm sorry this one's so much shorter, but I hope you can forgive me. So that's all for Alvin and the Chipmunks films. These films are honestly really good and I enjoyed all of them. But that's 6 hours. But I enjoyed them. It was a fun 6 hours, I'm not going to lie. It may sound like it was bad, but I enjoyed it. At least on the first watch. So if you haven't watched these films, I suggest them. But as my list of ranking, I say my favourite one is Shipwrecked. Then The Squeakquel. Then The Road Trip. And finally, in last place, the original. I don't know why, just Alvin and the Chipmunks wasn't the best, but then I thought they could start getting better until we got to the Road Trip. The thing I didn't really like about the Road Trip, not enough of the Chipettes. Anyway, I'll see you guys in... Oh, wait, before I go, at the end of the video, I'm going to play my 5 seconds from my favourite song from each films. But I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Cheese balls, man. on, no time to talk. Whether